So what was Macky Saturday's greatest advice for designers? Stay tuned. So if you didn't get to go to the Matchbox Design Festival, no worries. Here's a run through. So the thing that got me excited about the Matchbox Design Festival was, of course, Macky Saturday's work, creator of the Instagram logo, Oculus, Silk, among other things. But also just this whole lineup of other designers that I haven't been exposed to yet. So just hearing their stories and their insights, that was very helpful. And I'm realizing the more I go to design festivals, how much I actually take away from them, which it's an incredible investment in yourself and in your profession. So, of course, I'm here to hear Macky Saturday talk. If you've had a chance to take his Skillshare class on logo design, it's incredible. But besides that, I'm so glad I had a chance to sit through all the speakers. And it was quite a long day, but they gave us a lot of value for our price of admission, which was very nominal compared to some other conferences. Welcome to Matchbox Design Festival. Woo! Okay guys, we're at Matchbox Design Festival and I'm here with some friends and they're gonna tell you who they are, where you can find their work, and what brought them here today. All right, we're gonna go to Megan.
Hi! I am Megan Hillier. I came to Matchbox today because it's my birthday and I wanted something nerdy and fun to do. You can find me at meganhillier.design or meganhillierdesign on Instagram. So go follow me. It's fun.
Hey, I'm Drew Ordway. I'm at Matchbox today to just meet some people and be with some like-minded designers. You can find me at on Instagram at an.or.design. And yeah, it's been good so far.
What brought me to Matchbox Design Fest here in Denver? So just in general, that it's a design fest and it was close to home. That was one of the main reasons that I decided to come here. Also, one of the headliners is Macky Saturday, and I love his work. You know, if you follow him on Instagram, you realize that Denver used to be his home, and so that's super cool to see. Also, kudos to him and his Skillshare class. That's amazing. Definitely look at that, look at taking that if you haven't had a chance to. But also some of the people that I follow on Instagram, I didn't realize that they were gonna be here, like Studio Mast. They made Loyal Coffee that is based in Colorado Springs, and since I'm based out of Colorado Springs, it's only like a few blocks away from my office, and you know, I see it all the time, so it's very cool to see the creators of the work that you admire so much in person. So Matchbox Design Fest was actually a really long day, but they packed a lot of punch and value into their Design Fest. So if you didn't get to go, here's kind of a run through of who I heard and saw and what they talked about. So the whole festival lasted from around 10 to 6. They did some really cool things, like they gave bagels and coffee in the morning when you got registered. I did miss that because I was running late, but yeah, I think that was a really cool thing they did. They gave us a voucher for a free food truck lunch, which was incredible. They had kombucha from a local kombucha maker, and yeah, there was just a lot. And they even gave us snow melt, the hard seltzer, for just entertainment's sake, for the panel of creative directors, and I thought that was just very cool. They really went above and beyond and really out of their way to provide as much value to festival goers as possible, and I cannot wait to go to the one next year. I hear that it's in the talks, and I'm excited about it. First, I heard from Kai Radar of Mondo Robot, and some of the takeaways from his design were talking about best practices for design and how design is messy. Often we see the polished, finished product and we don't see what happened, the journey it took to get there, so that was a good takeaway from that. The next up was spectacle marketing, and that is Karina Jang and Nikki Robbins. So they're the owners of Spectacle Marketing out of Denver, I believe. They had an important message of inclusivity and collaborating with marginalized groups. So they talked a lot about that, but they said 3 brands that really do it well, which would be a good reference if you're trying to incorporate these ideas into your design and marketing are Hims, Billy, and Sephora. Next up, I found incredibly inspiring was Travis from Studio Mast Co. So they are the makers of Loyal Coffee, among other brands, and it was a really just a cool story. His main message was design as a job, work to live, not live to work. So you need to find identity outside of your work. Work-life balance is really important, and self-care is important. Stepping away from the computer helps inform your practice. So some of the things that he found inspirational were family, sports, and travel. And something that I could relate to a lot was travel and seeing something from a new perspective. So I definitely get that. He recommended working with your friends, hire people that are better than you. He talked about making friends with your clients, setting yourself up for success, that tell your clients that this is not an exact science and the deadline is approximate, and just try to produce the best results possible for them. And then he also talks about how when you're first getting set up, this is during the Q&A and somebody had asked him, and when you're first getting set up, it's kind of impossible to have that work-life balance unless you're really good at it, and if so, it's kudos to you. But you're trying to set up an agency or a studio, and it's hard to do that, but try to make that a goal as you progress in your career. The next up speakers we heard from were the founders of Golden Creative, which were Maddie Beard and Sage Samis. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. So they had a talk called Nuke the Whales. So she talked about, or they both talked about, be bold, start before you're ready. They're an agency that they have about 1 year under their belt, and I really appreciated their boldness of getting up on stage. And they even kind of alluded to, there's a lot more well-established people here, but we're honored to give a talk, and we hope you get something out of this. Up was Cast Iron Design, and that was Richard Roach. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong once again. So he was so funny. His presentation was just really amusing in general, so he really liked to inject humor into design. He said it's great to get past the awkward or boring moments, and sometimes his clients appreciated that, but it did make for a really good presentation. He talked about setting realistic expectations with timelines, even if it's a cool project. Asking the client, can you send the timeline or phase that's most important if it's going to come in multiple phases and something needs to roll out first. So one thing that I thought was very cool is that they only present a single solution for brand identity. No 1, 2, 3 different options, just one. They say that they're doing their jobs and working hard at that one, which is really bold because generally industry standard is between 1 and 3. Okay, so we got to about middle or midday. So they have a panel of creative directors, and they really talked about everything from psychology or working with people to being clear, being able to walk away from an idea if it's bad, just because that's for the good of the work. Being genuinely excited when presenting your logo design or your concept. I thought that was a really good one. I think my big takeaway from this was that they say if you're a creative director, don't be a people pleaser for your staff. So next we had Shiny Red Copy and Sarah Rosinski of that. She was so funny. Her kind of anecdotes on text, highly amusing for a designer. We learned a lot of things like where the ampersand came from the word etc., and where lorem ipsum came from, and I thought she just blew it out of the park for her presentation, so really good job. So for the headliner that drew a lot of us there, Macky Saturday. Funny enough, Macky designed both the Oculus and the Instagram logo before they were acquired by Facebook, and that whole transition of Facebook taking over Instagram or buying out Instagram happened during the logo design. So some of my takeaways from hearing Macky Saturday talk were give the client what they need, not necessarily what they want. So you can align it to the values that they want, and you can show them a lot of iterations, but they are hiring you for your expertise. And I so appreciated that he kind of gave the audience permission to say like, hey, you know, I'm the professional here, and you've hired me, and I'm gonna work hard for your company. So not to be pompous about it, and definitely listen to your clients, but another cool thing I heard him say is that he was opening a studio in Brooklyn for his studio, and of course he's in New York City now, working for a famous studio. And another huge takeaway I got from that was he just asked for an introduction, you know, to the owners of that studio, because he was working on the Oculus logo, and I know somebody had asked, like, how did you kind of jump from designing skateboarding and snowboarding gear to working at one of the most famous agencies in the world, in New York City? And he said, you know, I just wanted more eyeballs on my project, and I asked for an introduction because they were the leaders in the industry, and I thought I could learn something from them. And then funny enough, he was moving out of California with his wife back to California, and they called him up and said, hey, you know, we needed a new generation, we needed a new design principle, and since you're moving anyway to LA, why don't you just move to New York City? I highly recommend Matchbox Design Festival. I definitely will be back up in Denver next year for Matchbox 20. Somebody made a slide about that. That was super cute. For Matchbox Design Festival 2020. I can't wait to see who they get to come. So kudos to the creator. It was really entertaining, very useful. I came back with a lot of useful advice for my own studio, and I'm super pumped. So yeah, way to excite the crowd. I really enjoyed it.